Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Welcome back to another live stream with me, Grizzly. And today we're looking at the Megan Imirowicz case. We followed the entire trial together, and today was her sentencing. So I just quickly want to share one thing here with my patrons. Thank you if you are a patron. I really appreciate it, and you always get the behind the scenes updates and things like that. So just hold on one second, please. There we go. Okay, so I'll just quickly recap for those of you who don't know anything about this case and you're like, what is this about? You're just curious. You're here, you're new to the community, and you're like, what is this? Firstly, there's a playlist for you where you can catch up on, as always, time-stamped replays of the trial. But what happened here was, they say, this is from Michigan, right? A Michigan jury convicted a woman on charges connected to throwing lye at her drunken father and causing injuries that led to his death months later. The Oakland County panel found Megan Joyce Imirowicz, 19, guilty of DV and unlawful possession or use of a harmful irritant causing the death later, right, but of Konrad Imirowicz, 64. So she just turned 18 when this happened, and she was hoping he was going to get up, wish her happy birthday, take her to the hair salon, and take her to her birthday party. But he was passed out. And it sounds like she was really angry because he wasn't going to drive her, like he said, right? So she started throwing a lot of things on him. Bread, trash, water, and then a little bit of lye powder. And that reacted with his skin. And he was just lying there for many hours, letting this soak in. And it really burnt his skin. The chemical burn was very hectic, okay? So the jury found her guilty of doing that. And so today was sentencing, right? So prosecutors said that the man struggled with alcohol, and that he was drunk on October 1st, 2021, and unable to drive his daughter to the hair salon for an appointment before her 18th birthday party. That's when his enraged daughter threw lye powder and water on her sleeping father at their home in Groveland Township, northwest of Detroit, causing chemical burns that led to his death 5 months later, authorities said. The woman closed her eyes and appeared to fight back tears after the verdict was read, and the circuit judge, Victoria Valentine, polled jurors to confirm their decision. This is a tragic case, Oakland County prosecutor Karen McDonald said in a statement. The defendant lashed out in anger and wound up killing her father. She faces a maximum sentence of life behind bars when she's sentenced on July 25th, prosecutors said. Imirowicz's defense lawyer could not immediately be reached for comment on Thursday afternoon. So that's what we had there. Okay. And so I was very interested to see what's going to happen here, because it's a very interesting case. And I think there's very divided opinions here, right? Just hold on one second. There we go. Okay, I'm just getting this ready for you. Now, remember, I'm just giving you some factors, little reminders. So her and her brother were adopted by this mom and dad, who then later got divorced. And her brother decided to live with their adoptive dad. Some people said maybe it's because they had more relaxed rules or something. There's a lot of opinions here that we shared throughout the trial, right? So what I've got here for you, that's what I'm trying to get, hold on. Is it this one? There we go. Is the sentencing, right? Megan Imirowicz sentencing. So she's been in jail for 18 months. All right? So you guys are like, why throw lye? You know what? So it's actually not funny, but every time I see it, I'm like, oh man. I bookmark things, right, on Google Chrome. And the last time we looked up this lye powder, and we learned a lot about lye powder together there from that, from this case of like, what does it do and what does it say on the bottle and all of this kind of stuff. And so every time I go to Amazon, like if I'm like Amazon.com, okay, whatever I'm buying, doing, I've got Audible and Kindle, and got such a collection of books that I never get to read, but I want to. So anyway, I go in there, and then every time the bookmark is on that lye powder. So the first thing I see is this lye powder, this household lye, and I'm like, again, because we looked at it together. So I really need to bookmark a fresh page there. Now we're going to watch this sentencing together, okay? So yeah, Crystal Ann says she threw a bunch of stuff. So she just turned 18, threw a bunch of stuff, angry that her dad, who was struggling with alcoholism, was not getting up. She was angry, threw a bunch of stuff, but then damn, those chemical burns. Whew, caused a lot of complications. Eventually his legs got amputated. I say legs because I remember one leg, but I think his legs got amputated. Whoa, okay. So yeah, Engineer says suggested purchase. Okay, so now let's watch this a little bit. Okay, let me put the sound on for you. Wait, I think it is on already. Okay, let me know if you can hear it nicely. Hold on.
Calling People versus Imirowicz, case number 2022-185-519 FC.
Jason DeSantis, the People, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Frederick Mellon, on behalf of Mr. Imirowicz, who's seated to my left.
Thank you. Ma'am, your name for the record, please.
Megan Imirowicz.
And Ms. Imirowicz, today's the date and time for your sentencing. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Sands, have you had an opportunity to review the PSI?
I have, Judge. I do have corrections I'd like to make, and I included in my sentencing memorandum as pertains to the OVs. I believe that OV 10 should be scored at 5 points, and that OV 5 should be scored at 15 points. I did state the reason for that in the memorandum. It would not change the overall guidelines, but...
Sorry, you guys are asking what is it for? The lye powder is to clean a drain. Okay? Just let me know if the sound is good. Is the sound good, everyone?
I believe those are correct.
Okay. Mr. Miller?
Your Honor, I've discussed it, and I believe that that is correct.
Okay.
Those are correct, I should say.
Okay, so with regard to the OV, there's a stipulation.
Correct.
Okay. Court will accept the stipulation.
And again, the overall
OV
guidelines would not
5
change.
at 15 points.
Thank you, Judge. And OV 10 at 5 points.
Is there a stipulation with regard to the second OV?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Court will take the stipulation. So the
I'll do
total
that.
OVs now are at 75 points. The guidelines do not change. Anything further with regard to any additions, deletions, corrections?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Anything addition with regard to additions, deletions, corrections?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
I did, no, Your Honor, although I do have a letter from her younger sister and younger brother. Technically, they're victims. They would prefer you to read these. If I can approach, I'll hand them to you.
I have seen it, Judge.
Okay. Go ahead, please. Thank you. Okay. Mr. DeSantis, any allocution?
Yes, Your Honor. The first thing I'd like to say is I have been in conversation, of course, with Austin Imirowicz, Mr. Konrad Imierowicz's next of kin and son, as well as Thomas Imirowicz, his brother. They did submit a letter as a family, which I also attached my sentencing memorandum for your review. They were not going to be present today because it was extremely difficult for Mr. Imirowicz to sit through the trial, and they're going to take the opportunity afforded to them to watch remotely on the feed afterwards. But they wanted you to know that they were here, they were watching. Of course, they did submit the letter. So that's going to suffice for their statement, Judge.
Here and there, I'm going to pause to make commentary. So yes, right at the back there, back right behind Megan Imirowicz is her mother. So they just said the brother's not going to be here today, watching remotely. This is from earlier in the day, so if you missed this, I'm not going to give any spoilers, okay? We're just going to try not to give spoilers. Did you already give spoilers, guys? I didn't see. Okay, so let's continue on.
Thank you. And are you going to be reading that into the record?
It's attached to the sentencing memorandum, which I did e-file, Judge, so it's already in the record. So I didn't need to, unless Your Honor has not read it. I assumed you had.
I have read it.
I figured. So I wasn't going to read it today, Judge. As to anything else, Judge, I don't have a ton to add, if I may. The guidelines in this case are 51 to 85. That's 4.25 years to 7 years on the low end. I believe you should sentence her to the full 7 years on the low end. Lots of people do make mistakes, or they do things without intending them or without fully understanding the harm. In the vast majority of circumstances, when it does happen, the harm is minimal and can only be minimal. That's not the case here. This is the only reason you're going to cover someone with a chemical substance that we use to clean metal, porcelain, ceramic is to hurt them. And that's not the case of someone like throwing a punch and the victim falls and hurts themselves. If she had done something like that, or gotten on top of her father and struck him over and over and over and over and over, the harm still would have been less in this case. She chose to do this particular method. So I think that's something that should be taken into account in your decision. The other thing I would say is that, of course, when she committed this crime, she didn't just deny, didn't take his life alone. She also denied the family, a father, son, and a brother, and also she took herself away from her family too. Her actions took away Thomas's niece, Austin's sister, Morgan and Ian's sister. You're supposed to have your siblings around you when a parent passes, and in this instance, that couldn't happen because of her choices and her responsibility.
Pause. And if anyone here's like, just play it, you can watch it elsewhere with just play it, okay? So, Magnetic Janet says, prosecutors asking for 7 years on the low end. This could be 7 to life, and he's like, on the low end. Even the low end, he wants maximum of 7 years. Okay.
So I think those are things you should consider.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. Judge, you did hear the trial. You did not hear from Megan. I would indicate that Megan is just past 18 when this occurred, and she may be an adult, but she's still a child. Very much so. This is a horrible situation. She's aware of it, but she's extremely young. I don't believe she's an adult at all. She needs help, and I'm just requesting that you go to the bottom of the guidelines.
Mr. Imirowicz, anything you'd like to state?
Can I get one here?
Is it possible to release one hand so she could turn the page?
So she's gonna talk now, you guys. She's actually making a statement. That's what we were saying last time. We hope that she does. Could make a difference.
You can either proceed from the table or you can go to the podium.
Do you want to stand up and do it? You can. Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes in life, we are faced with trouble. Those we don't wish for, and most are never imaginable. Sorry. Yet we face them anyways. 19 years ago, I was placed into the arms of the first man to ever love me. The man I'm lucky enough to call my dad. Growing up, he became so much more. He was a storyteller, a tooth fairy, a friend and hero. But through it all, the one thing that never changed was that he was mine. One of the biggest things overlooked in this case is that me and my siblings lost our dad too. That loss has severely broken us. My little brother was diagnosed with severe depression, and at his age that will probably take over most of his life. He wasn't allowed to say goodbye to my dad. He's 15 and not only has to live with that scar, but at the same time has to watch his big sister fight to come home. My little sister is still traumatized from having her car surrounded and her sister taken away. And worst of all, until the police blurted out our dad was gone, we had no idea. She too was kept from saying goodbye and is also struggling as she watches me go through this. My mom lost him too. Nobody sees that, but that's true. They were in love once. She mothered his kids, and she lost him. And then there's me. It's almost been 2 years and I haven't been able to mourn. I refuse to think he's gone because no part of me can handle losing him. Those first few days when I moved back in with my mom, I couldn't sleep. Some nights she'd wake up and find me crying on the bathroom floor. And every night I slept with a picture of him and I. Losing him has taken every belief of love, hope, and happiness and destroyed it. I am the best parts of him. I'm his daughter. But without him, I don't know who I am anymore. He was my reason. And now every day I battle with self-harm. When I was younger, I'd count the days until I could live with my dad full time. And when that day finally came, for the first time in my life, I could finally exhale. He was my best friend and the person I talked to about boys, the one who knew every single thing about me, and my favorite person to laugh with. My dad has always been the one constant in my life. That alone And that created an unbreakable bond between us, and no one, not especially Mr. DeSantis, can take that away from me. I never got to say goodbye, and that's a scar I'll never be able to lose. I get so scared that he thinks I didn't love him because I wasn't allowed to be there and hold his hand. If all the fears in life, that shouldn't be one of them. Nobody even wants to talk about him. Like, we're just supposed to move on, but I can't. That's my dad, and he's gone, and no matter how much I beg God, he's not coming back. He taught me so many things in life, but the one thing he never taught me was how to live without him. I don't want to learn. I just want my dad. Austin let him give up. And it's not fair that Austin abused my dad both mentally and physically and still got to be the one at his side. Look what it did. He gave up. He would have fought for me and he'd never leave me. Every single day, I'll pretend I'm in a coma for one of my suicide attempts, and that one day soon, God will wake me up and my dad will be there waiting for me. But there's no waking up, is there? It's wrong. That's the one thing that gets me by. A belief that's not even real. A hope that's supposed to defy reality. But that's all it is, though. And one of the worst ways to cope. And now it's mine. On October 1st, I woke up only to find my dad drunk. Yeah, it was disappointing, but I understood why he was. Those last few weeks were hard on us because Austin was moving out, and we weren't ready for that. Those last few weeks I self-harmed, so who was I to be mad at my dad for his way of coping? Yeah, I whined and complained, but it was no different from any other time. He kept falling asleep in the middle of me complaining, and when I yelled Dad, he wouldn't wake up. So I tossed some bread at him because he pees in bags and puts them on the floor, and it leaked that day, so I couldn't get to him to tap his leg. When he didn't wake up, I tossed some lightweight things at the end of the couch so it would vibrate and wake him. I never threw water, but I knew why the couch was wet, so it was easier to lie than to admit your dad makes himself.
This is all very important. We were all wondering about this. Now, I know it's coming from her, from the defendant here, Megan Imirowicz, okay? At her sentencing, I'm just glad she's making a statement. I think it's really important. A lot of you are red flagging the brother, and I understand too. And she's saying a lot of things here of him. Again, just take it with a pinch of salt for a moment. Of the brother mentally and physically abusing the dad. We did pick up quite an aggressive vibe. Maybe it was a protective vibe. I don't know. But just remember, she was 18. I can see. This is what I mean. This chat is like so divided right now, right? Last time, during the trial, people said if you've ever lived with a substance abuser, you might understand the frustration. I'm trying to talk very delicately here because this is a very high roller coaster of emotions topic, right? She was 18. She just turned 18. She threw a whole bunch of stuff in a fit at her dad while he was passed out on the couch, right? She just said that it was like urine, right? That caused the reaction then with the lie. And she threw a whole bunch of stuff, bread and trash, and then the lie. So the thing is that I guess we can all understand like a teenage temper tantrum. What it resulted in is absolutely horrendous. I just don't think that she calculated like, oh, yeah, this is going to kill him. I don't think anyone would have thought that. Maybe sting a little, maybe hurt a little. I don't know if she thought in her brain, this is what's going to end him. You know what I mean? But anyway, she was barely 18. I kind of feel for her. And let's continue watching. But I get it, you guys. All the opinions. I like seeing what you all think. I just, and she's talking a lot about she was self-harming, she had unalive attempts, and now we're not trying to do the whole like poor me syndrome thing, but I do think there's a lot of factors to take into account here as well. And we all wanted to know this kind of stuff, right? Like what was going on in the house and why and where and all of that. So let's continue listening.
He did wake up though, and we talked it out. And although Mr. DeSantis would like to theorize on his consciousness, my dad and I both have said that we talked it out, and we don't leave angry. I would never and have never hurt my dad. I am not my brother. And I'd like to point that out, that my party wasn't a big deal. I'd already celebrated, and if the hotel didn't work out, me and my friends would have still hung out. The only thing that excited me about turning 18 was that I was finally old enough to hold the puppies at the 12 Oaks Mall. You want to know how I spent my birthday? My dad woke me up with cake and my favorite foods. You know why? Because he's a good dad. Yeah, he had his problems, but he was human. And just like humans, he felt pain and coped with it. He was going to get better one day. I believed in him, and now I don't even get to see that day. One major thing I'd like to point out is that my dad told the police and my brother I didn't do it. And only did that change after being alone with Austin, who admitted he told my dad that's not what happened. But how would he know? So when Austin didn't like the truth, he changed it. But he can't change my truth. Not this time. The evil are ensnared by the transgressions of their lips, but the righteous escape from trouble. Proverbs 12:13. Although my attorney didn't provide an alternate theory while defending me, it's clear that in the discovery where there were other people who weren't being truthful and should have been questioned as well. And you'd think because one of my brother's hobbies is hurting my dad, he would have been questioned. But all it took was for my brother, who at this point changed the truth, to point the finger at me. In the police video, if you pay close attention, you will find that I only agreed to the things they said first. Just like my brother, I'd do anything to protect my dad and the possibility of self-harm, even lie. And I apologize for those lies. If I knew that a simple lie would ruin my life, I would have closed my mouth. We all learn at some point. I wish more than anything I would have testified at trial, but I can't go back, and I can only fight my butt off right now. This whole time the prosecution has tried to make me look like a monster, but that's not me and it never was. The real me is the girl who laughs a little too loudly and loves a little too hard, and the kind of girl who sees the best in everyone. I babysit kids for moms that can't afford much and volunteer at Vacation Bible School. I was on the soccer team and performed in the choir and musicals. And my favorite thing is when my dad would wake me up in the crack of dawn to show me the deer in our yard. I'm a good student and sister, but most importantly, I'm a good daughter. I was the only one who took care of my dad. Even though it was hard, it made me feel loved and needed. My dad was proud of the girl I was becoming, and even now I know he's looking down from heaven, proud that I've been strong enough to get here. He's strong enough to still fight. I didn't just lose my dad, but I lost my big brother. And this whole time I've tried to hate him for what he did, but I can only forgive him, and I hope he knows that I'll always love him, no matter what. One of my biggest fears moving forward is that people will think that I'm some monster, something I'm far from. Mr. DeSantis so badly wants to take away my future without a care that for the past 17 months, I've sat and faced some of the hardest punishments. My great uncle died, and again I didn't get to say goodbye. My brother needs me, and I can't be there to help him. Greatest of all, I have to live in a world where my dad is not. I have to live with the fact that I didn't even get to say goodbye or I love you. That alone is a lifelong punishment. And no matter how Mr. DeSantis tries, he can't make me something I'm not. My one question is what gives anyone the right to judge without knowing what's in the heart? As I stand here, I'm being judged without being known. The prosecution's job is to make me look bad, but he himself doesn't know me. What part of me makes me a monster? Is it the kids who teaches kids? Is it the girl who teaches kids about God? Is it the girl who every year for her brother's birthday threw him a surprise birthday party just so he'd remember I loved him? Or is it the girl who quit her job to take care of her dad? We as humans spend our whole lives judging others without knowing anything about them except what others say. But when will it stop? What gives us the right You know how many people stand up and get persecuted only to be found guilty, yet years and years later are actually found innocent? Those mistakes ruin lives. I want to be the change. Since I've been in jail, I've taken the time to mature and find my strength. I've learned a lot. I've met people with stories like mine and others who are given second chances. I spent the past 17 months in the crazy people pod because my close friend can't move for security reasons and I refuse to leave her side. She's been my rock and the only person who keeps my dad's memory alive for me. One of my most memorable accomplishments is that I read the whole Bible front to back. It's crazy what someone can accomplish when you put your mind to it. I have so many goals in life, and
I'm just gonna pause for a second. Sorry if that's loud. Am I loud? Hope not in comparison. C minor says, wait, she didn't throw liquid on him? He's drunkenly urinating on himself is what caused the reaction. Maybe, according to what she's saying. We also speculated that at some point that it could have been like that. However, when we saw the cops surrounding her, she did dare say in that dash cam video, I think I remember her saying that she did throw water and she did throw the lye. So that's interesting as well, right? So let's continue.
I need your help to make them happen. I'm 19 years old. That's not a lot, and I don't get in trouble. I have my whole future ahead of me. I want to go to Hope College with my sister to get a degree in psychology and then transfer to SCSU for marine biology. One day I want to open a marine rescue and rehabilitation center. We're alone with helping rehabilitate marine life. I will set up programs to help kids with depression or troubled kids who need a good outlet find a purpose through giving animals their purpose back. I know it sounds silly, but it's my dream. I want to change the world. My future isn't just about me though. It's about my family. It's about the little boy at home who needs his sister. I want to watch him grow up and have his first girlfriend and to make Eagle Scout. It's about my sister who I've already missed milestones of ours. And more than anything, I want to be by her side again. I want to be there to remind them about her dad and who he was. It's about my grandparents who aren't getting any younger, who constantly have health problems. I want to spend time with them while I can. For them to see me marry my boyfriend. I don't want to lose any more goodbyes.
Question. Do you guys think that this type of a voice and what she's doing is authentic? Like, do you think it sounds almost like authentic, authentically traumatized, or do you think it's put on? I mean, I agree, there's no tears like streaming down her face, but sometimes if you're very, very traumatized, maybe the tears don't pour out. As I say, I'm on the fence with this one, and I'm very keen to see what you guys think. It's like, very interesting. But I must say, whatever she wrote there, she definitely thought about it long and hard, what to say. And her lawyer obviously advised her, yeah, I think you should say something. Which is interesting. No spoilers, yes? Emily says, I can't believe some people here feel sorry for her. Right? Okay, let's continue on.
Last but not least, it's about my mom, who's become the reason I'm still strong. I lost my dad and now I've been giving an everlasting fear that I'll lose her too. It's not just about my life on the line, but theirs too. Please don't take me away from them. They're all I have left. More than anything, it's about my dad, who believed in his daughter, who's looking down from heaven right now, giving me the words to say. I'll forever live every day for him. And one day, when I change the world, I'll look up to the stars and finally say, we did it. Your Honor, a while back, I had the chance to watch you give a boy named Armani Jackson a chance. And it stuck with me because he was around my age. And like me, he had dreams of college and a future. You cared enough to ask him but more importantly, you cared enough to give him the chance to go make those dreams too. I've watched as you've given so many people chances, and some who may not have deserved them. And once upon a time, you dreamed of being a judge. And part of me believes it's because some people deserve another chance. You've accomplished your dream, and I guess now I'm asking for you to help me accomplish mine. In a world full of wrongful judgment, I'm asking you to be the change. To believe in me the way my dad did. I'm gonna ask for the lower end of my guidelines, but even lower, if possible. I'm not a threat to society, but an asset for the future. When I get home, I'll finish high school and start college. I'll get a job and go to therapy. I'll change the world. It's not just me you'd be giving a chance, but all those people who wrote you and all those people out there who support me. This isn't just me anymore. Please be my miracle. If you try my heart, if you visit me by night, if you test me, you will find no wickedness in me. My mouth does not transgress. As for what others do, by the word of your lips I have avoided the ways of the violent. My steps have held fast to your paths. My feet have not slipped. Psalms 17:3-5. I pray my words mean something. I pray that you bring me home. Thank you.
I mean, damn, giving an example as well of another case where the judge gave someone a lesser sentence is very interesting, very good as well, right?
Is there anybody in the courtroom who wanted to make a statement? I see Miss Imirowicz here, or I'm sorry, Miss Konrad here. Ma'am, you provided a statement that you'd like me to read, is that correct?
Judge, at this point, I would object. I don't think she has any particular rights under the Crime Victims' Right Act to address the court. It is your courtroom, of course.
Okay. The court rules do give me discretion to allow additional statements. So the court is going to allow it. Ma'am, would you like to speak on your own, or would you like me to read your statement? Come and speak? Okay.
Okay, so Mom is going to speak now. Bacon, eggs, and hash says, Grizzly true crime. Is this what we've become? Come on, cut us some slack. Did you not hear anything I said? That I'm on the fence? Did you not hear that I said it's hard to grow up with a substance abuser? That she was only 18? That I don't think she premeditated murder and lie? I am cutting her some slack, but I'm also like, damn, let's think about what happened here. You know, and let's see what happens here with the sentencing, because the jury found her guilty. So let us see. Let's continue on. I put up a little poll for you guys if you do want to vote. If you already know the outcome, because this happened earlier today, a few hours ago, then you can't vote, okay? I can't vote either. But if you don't know, then put a vote in there. Let's see what you say.
Absolutely. Can you come to the microphone?
So this is her mom, adoptive mom. This looks difficult for her.
Just your name for the record, please.
Julie Konrad.
Go ahead, please.
Your Honor, as with every trial, not everything is brought up in front of the jury, and there's so many complexities to this case, and so much that was not included that, I feel was left out. We don't know what happened that day. There's no fingerprints from the bottle. When I returned with Megan on the Wednesday after this happened for her retriever stuff, when we were escorted by a state trooper, the bottle was sitting on the couch. It was still there. Anyone could have touched it. Why was a more thorough investigation not done these are my questions of how, the 2 + 2 with.
These are valid questions. I'm going to pause here and there. These are valid questions because they didn't do a proper, forensic investigation. That's the problem that I found with the prosecution is okay, but did you look for fingerprints? Did you test things? What do you do? We just saw a couple of photos and okay, you know what I mean? Very interesting. So the mom's making a good point here. Also, someone's reminding me in Megan's own statement, she said, yeah, water. In her statement, she's basically saying she's covering for her dad because he often wet himself.
All the facts that are known, the actual facts, not the hearsay or the testimony, but the physical facts. 2 + 2 has just not equaled 4. My children and I, and by my children, I do mean all 4 of them, we have all suffered. I have lost a son, but he had already planned to leave the family. He had already discussed this with me that summer, that he just wanted to leave and never have contact with the family again. So I knew at some point he could do that. But with also losing Megan, not being able to actually look her straight in the eye or to hug her for the last 17 months. It's a mother's nightmare. The way we found out about Konrad's death is when Megan and Morgan were pulled over. No one notified us that he was in hospice care and at home. The minor children, Morgan and Ian, were both minors at the time, and they were prevented by their brother from having any contact whatsoever with their father.
I'm going to pause again. If you're annoyed, sorry about that. We're making commentary in between. Remember when the brother, Austin, he made sure that the hospital would not let Megan or her siblings or the mother visit Konrad in the hospital. He's very aggressive. And I'm sorry about it, but not. He sounds a lot like, a coercive controller. He's really running the show there. Those boundaries were so strong, but a little bit inappropriate. Ban the whole family. Only him and his friend were allowed there. Ooh, that was a little bit hectic, right? So that's what the mom is going on about right now.
They were not allowed to go to the hospital. They were not allowed to have any phone contact. Anything sent to Konrad would have been shredded. Morgan tried multiple times to reach out to her father and was prevented. Ian, unfortunately, has never really had a chance to know his dad, but knows his dad through the stories that we tell him, the stories that I tell him, that Morgan tells him, that Megan tells him. We were a broken family before this began, and now we're even more broken. I wish for you to be lenient on Megan while her age, her body is 19 years old. Her maturity level, her emotional level is not that of an adult. She was never prepared for adulthood.
I mean, that's probably true. And did you know that the brain only fully forms at around 25? psychologically and all that, right? The maturity is only really there. Maturity doesn't really matter about the age, but the brain fully forms at 25 on average, right? So, I know that there's very, very terrible true crime cases we've seen where teenagers commit those crimes, all kinds of things. I'm just saying, she's got a point there as well, okay? But let's continue on.
She could not even make a doctor's appointment for herself right now. She does not have the knowledge. She was not taught that. But thank you for reading all the letters that you've received, on both sides. Thank you for taking your time with all of this. Thank you, Your Honor.
Is there anybody else in the courtroom who wanted to make a statement? And with regard to the letters that I have a letter from Julie Konrad, a letter from Morgan, and a letter from Ian, correct?
Those are the ones I've seen, Judge.
Those are the ones that you want me to read. There was a letter from the clergy member at the jail. That's not being requested to be read into the record?
Not to be read into the record, no, Your Honor.
Okay.
But you can read it.
Okay, Your Honor, can I say one thing before you go?
Absolutely.
I want to address some of the statements that have been made about Austin today. Because there's been some factual allegations and such, I think it should be noted for the court, or reminded for everyone, that Austin was 19 years old when this happened. He was suddenly thrust in the role of next of kin, caregiver, manager of the estate, and was suddenly without his father, without his mother, because his mother was helping the person that he believed had killed his father, and was trying to manage all this all at the same time while 19 years old. And so I think if we're going to be talking and casting aspersions about that today, I think that should also be something that's taken into note.
And did you have a statement that you wanted me to read as well?
The letter from Thomas is also from Austin, is my understanding. That's a joint family statement.
Okay.
Okay, quick pause. We've still got 26 minutes left of this sentencing to watch, okay? If you've never heard of this case, number one, in the description box, I always put a little case background paragraph there for you. Number two, there's an entire playlist that I have on this case for you, and we did like summaries, we went over everything, especially if you watch the first day or the trial prep, things like that. So that's all on the playlist for you. And now we're watching the sentencing together. So if you're here and you're like, what is this? Because I think there's quite a few people here like, what are we watching, guys? Thank you for being here. I really appreciate that you're spending your time here with us and that you're curious and that you want to know. And I hope you will check out the playlist or just read up a little more on the case so that you can understand, what this is all about.
With regard to the letter, I have a letter, Dear Judge Valentine. I am Julie Konrad, mother of Austin, Megan, Morgan, and Ian, and former wife of Konrad Imirowicz. I first apologize for making a joke and laughing during my testimony. People have different ways of dealing with stress, and my way of joking to relieve stress and anxiety is not always done in a proper time or location. Konrad and I adopted Austin when he was 27 days old. 14 months later, we adopted Megan when she was 3 days old. She had a tough start to life and went through 4 months of withdrawal from whatever her birth mother was on. To our surprise, I found out I was pregnant with Morgan. While the girls are supposed to be just over a year apart in age due to complications, the girls are 11 months apart in age. 3 years later, another surprise in the form of Ian arrived. Megan has had issues with abandonment and with her birth mother gave her up and had been in therapy to help her. As with all children, there are disagreements. When these disagreements occurred, I would immediately separate the children, go to speak individually and privately with each one so that I could put together what happened and if anyone needed time out. Without being at Konrad's home on Friday, October 1st, 2021, I have no idea what happened. After listening to what people did know or say they knew, 2 plus 2 was not anywhere close to equaling 4. I am an assistant scoutmaster in Ian's troop. I take the Scout oath and law very seriously and my best to live as a scout should. I have only wanted the truth to come out. Given the sad state of our family dynamics, I know the truth will never be revealed. There will always be doubt and question in my mind as to what happened. Megan, to me, is a typical teenager. She is concerned about boys, makeup, hair, and clothing. When Megan does not get her way, I have witnessed so many times how she'll argue, scream, and pour on the tears, stomp to her bedroom, and slam the door. Drama. To me, drama belongs on a TV or a stage. I am a numbers person, and the numbers are factual. I have heard Konrad state...
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. But at this point, I do want to object to the remainder of the letter being read because these are simply unsubstantiated allegations of facts about other instances in this case and other people and witnesses, and I don't think it's appropriate for them to be read in the record, especially by someone who doesn't have a right to address the court and is now getting to do so twice.
Okay, so Mr. DeSantis, my understanding was that you were provided that these letters before the sentencing and that there was not an objection, and you requested that I read them into the record.
I did not request that they be read into the record. I said I was provided with the letters, and I'm fine with some of it being read, but some of it is not.
But you didn't make that objection before I started, so what are you requesting that I not read into the record?
From that point on, Judge. The rest of it's simply about other instances that were not, pertains to the case.
I'm going to pause again. This prosecutor, it's not my favorite prosecutor I've ever seen. He's very aggressive, very towards females, including the judge right now. And the things he said about the mother at the trial, we were like, damn, bro. So just chill yourself, bro. I said bro a few times there. Okay, moving on.
And it's just factual aspersions about witnesses and other people. Okay. And I'll also note that Ms. Konrad also addressed the court, which I didn't know she was going to get to do as well.
Okay.
I have no objections to anything contained in Morgan's letter or Ian's letter.
Okay, so you just don't want the rest of Ms. Konrad's letter read into the record. Anything you'd like to state, sir?
Your Honor, it is your decision.
Okay. With regard to the sentencing, I'm not sure that any past issues will assist the court with regard to sentencing, so I will not read anything further into the record. But I will read Morgan's statement as well as Ian's statement. Anything that you're requesting to not be stated with regard to these letters?
No, Judge. Those two are absolutely victims in the case and next of kin. They have a right to address the court, and there's nothing in particular that I think is objectionable.
Thank you. Dear Judge Valentine, my name is Morgan. I am the third child of Konrad Imirowicz. My parents gave me the name quite close to my older sister's, Megan. Not to mention we are 11 months apart in age. Because of this, we are always labeled as the girls growing up, barely ever not being grouped together. We shared a room for a good portion of our childhood at both houses and went back and forth between sharing and not sharing a room at our dad's house. We did the same sport growing up. We went to the same camps. We were in the same grade. Once in a while being in the same classes, and occasionally we would have the same friends. I could always count on her if I couldn't find any new friends to play with in the park or make me mac and cheese when I was hungry. She was there to protect me every step of the way. I always knew that she was going to be there whether I wanted her or not. She was my best friend and my other half. Well, Megan was my best friend, but I was not hers. My position belongs to my dad. That position belonged to my dad. He was her other half. I have never seen someone love another as much as Megan loved my dad. She was always his little girl. They stuck together. She supported him through everything and always wanted the best for him. She continued to try to help him even when he refused. It's hard to get someone help when they do not want it, but still she tried. During late 2021 and early 22, Megan stayed with us. She never talked ill of our father in her bedroom. She has pictures hung up of two of them and had her screensaver on her phone set to a picture of him and her as a baby. Megan loved my dad with all her heart, and knowing that he was hurt broke her. She constantly prayed that he would be okay. My sister has said to me, "What is life without Dad?" Because what is life without your best friend? She has been serving time for over a year now, away from everyone that considers her their best friend, without people that love her most, while she is without the person that she loves the most. She has lived a life that has been fulfilled with heartbreak after heartbreak and is never ending. While others have hatred for the sick, she only had love. Others like to compare their story to hers. It is not the same, nor will it ever be. Everyone has a different past, and no one should be comparing ones to others. Thank you, Morgan Imirowicz. Dear Judge Valentine, my name is Ian James Imirowicz. I would not like this letter. It says he would not like this letter to be read in open court.
I'm content with the court just reading it silently.
Thank you.
I read it.
I am as well.
Like the prosecutors, like, yeah, no, I'm fine with it. You don't have to read that. Thankfully, they said that at the beginning, right? Imagine it was their letter, and at the end it's like, please don't read this. Like, oh dear.
With regard to Austin's letter and the uncle's letter, did you want to read that into the record, Mr.
I think at
Santa?
this point I should, Judge, as other letters
Right.
have been read. Honorable Judge Valentine, my big brother Konrad Imirowicz taught me how to ski, throw a football, drive, and grow up, knowing that he is someone I can go to when I needed help and guidance. He listened to my problems, never judged me, and always asked me how he can help. I miss him dearly. The words cannot explain how much of a void and darkness is surrounding my family, knowing that we lost him. His loving nature with easygoing demeanor continued with his kids and everyone who encountered him. He was a scout leader and continued to offer help and mentorships to every kid that needed it. Even during tough times, he never lost his generosity. Throughout her life, Megan Imirowicz had numerous behavioral issues and got into multiple troubles. My brother was always there and never gave up. When Megan and her mother, Julie Konrad, had his issues, he was there to welcome her with open arms. He even fought for her custody to remedy issues. When Megan stole his car and crashed it, my brother was there to support her. He did not tell us exactly what happened. It was unusual for him not to visit my parents, and we had no idea that he did not have a car because he protected Megan from any negative comment and encounter. After some time, we got to learn about it from others. He would take my parents' car to continue driving her around. When Megan pulled a knife in school and threatened a teacher, he was there to pick her up and enroll her in homeschool. He always had an open arm for her, always wanted her to be happy, and continuously tried to work around her behavioral issues. As always, with his calm nature, he never lost his temper and unconditionally loved her. Then, on the morning of October 1, 2021, Megan poured lye powder on her dad, Konrad Imirowicz, and left him to die because he could not drive her to the appointment. Megan left my brother with horrendous suffering, dreadful pain, and in horrific condition. There is no way I can describe how my father and my family felt when they saw the pictures. Until now, I have not let my wife and mother see those pictures. Every time I'm reminded of a great memory with my brother, I also remember the dreadful pictures. I cannot think or remember my brother without horrible recollection of how he died. All that got worse when we found out Megan had proceeded to go to a hotel for her birthday party and had the audacity to ask for Konrad's credit card info to pay for her party. At times, I think this senseless act was the only reason that Konrad was found alive and taken to the hospital. I am grateful that he got treatments and strong drugs at the end so that he did not die in total suffering without help. Konrad spent 6 months in the burn unit. Every day he had complications. Every day we had hope. My family prayed every day for him to be with us. My nephew, Austin, was there constantly to see his father, even when we heard that they had to amputate his feet and part of his leg. We started thinking about his care after the hospital. We talked multiple times every day to plan for his care. We prayed every day. But he could not recover from his injuries and left us. He died at home, as was his wish, with my nephew Austin by his side. Austin has had to do through the horror of seeing his father suffering from his injuries and dying in front of him, all with the knowledge that his sister Megan did this to their father. The suffering to my parents, myself, my nephew, and family is unspeakable. My parents not only lost a child, but they also need to deal with the trauma of knowing that their grandchild took the life of their son in a way unimaginable, with no remorse. Knowing that she never took responsibility for her act and always blamed others for her horrific act. Megan took away a father, a son, a brother, and an uncle without remorse and in a cruel way. She gave us all a life sentence of dealing with our lost. Megan deserves a life sentence. Respectfully yours, Thomas Imirowicz, brother of Konrad Imirowicz, on behalf of the Imirowicz family.
So that was the victim's Konrad, the dad who died, right? It was his brother. Megan's face just looks like she's like unbelievable. Like this, it looks to me like she's feeling really betrayed right now. You know? So I don't know. Just looking at it like, damn, what's going on here? Look at the prosecutor's like, No one objected to that letter being read at all. How would he like to be interrupted? Okay, continuing on.
Thank you. Anything further?
Nothing from the people.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Imirowicz, case number 2022-281-519-FC, harmful devices, irritants, unlawful possession or use causing death. And with regard to this matter, the court has reviewed the PSI, it has reviewed your compass score and your prior criminal history. The circumstances that you have endured during your adolescent life are somewhat detailed in the PSR. The report indicates physical abuse and attempted sexual assault by a friend of a sibling, which was not addressed by your parents. Your adoptive parents separated when you were 8.5 years old. You endured both physical abuse, and while you indicate that you were raised by both of your parents, the court does recognize that your father was a severe alcoholic. His disease could not make him a fit parent, and he always put you in harm's way. Your childhood was lined with abuse, the inability to grow mentally as a child. Your only criminal history was driving offense that your father was unable to drive you. The PSI indicates that he would pick you up while intoxicated and that you had to quit your job to care for your father. Your father described you as an angel, making it clear that you do not have malice. It is clear that your father's addiction and the denial of his addiction alienated his family. Your parents divorced when you were approximately 8.5 years old. Your younger siblings could not endure visiting your father anymore. Your younger sister testified that the last time that she was at the house, she shared a bathroom with your father and that there was vomit in the shower, in the sink, and toilet paper all over the bathroom. The first responders could not attend to your father because of the filth inside the house, that it was not fit for habitation. Garbage bagged and unbagged garbage filled the home. The home was infested with visible fleas and bugs, and the PSI describes plastic bags filled with urine near the couch. Your mother testified about human feces around the couch as well. There were several animals in the home and food containers and debris throughout the house. Your father indicated that he set off a bug bomb the day before the incident but failed to vacate the home. Your father's disease clearly created a cloud of deception and denial, according to Konrad's statement to the police, that he consumed a half a bottle of Smirnoff Ice and that he was napping, not intoxicated. This is inconsistent with the medical information of a blood alcohol level of approximately 0.3. Your mother, your younger siblings, and your older brother all left the home, leaving you with the daunting task of caring for your father. The denial of the disease from your father and your brother's belief that your father was not an alcoholic weighed on your shoulders. The mental health that you suffered started to decline when you were 10 years old. You struggled with suicidal idealizations. You've been diagnosed with severe depression, anxiety. You were hospitalized multiple times, most recently around your 16th birthday for a week in Harbor Oaks Hospital. You completed 11th grade and you began your senior year of high school at Brandon High School. Your senior year should be filled with excitement of being a child, celebrating your accomplishments, and completing high school and planning your future. You did not have the luxury of being a child, as you indicated that you had to be an adult in the house. This is a serious crime that you have been found guilty of. The court does not believe that a child your age knew or understood the consequences of throwing the items at your father or the damage that it would cause him. At the time of the incident, you were barely 18 years old. You were 3 days past your birthday. It is clear that your brain is not developed. The United States Supreme Court in Roper v. Simmons, a 2005 case, recognized that juveniles have less culpability and are less deserving of the harshest punishments due to the inherent immaturity and vulnerability. Graham v. Florida, a 2010 United States Supreme Court case, recognizes the difference between juvenile adults in terms of the capacity for rehabilitation and change. Miller v. Alabama, the 2012 United States Supreme Court case, recognized the unique characteristics of juveniles and their brain development and decision-making processes, and how these factors should be taken into account when determining the culpability and appropriate punishment. There is a recognition of the cognitive and emotional immaturity in juveniles that are inherently less mature than adults in their cognitive and emotional development. The decision-making process may be more impulsive and may be more susceptible to external influences, as the court noted. Juveniles have limited control over impulses as their prefrontal cortex The area of the brain responsible for impulse control and decision-making continued to develop as adolescents. As a result, juveniles may have limited control over their impulses or actions as compared to adults. The capacity for change and rehabilitation, the courts want to highlight that juveniles possess a greater capacity for change and for rehabilitation compared to adults. And while adults' criminal behavior might be more fixed, juveniles are more likely and amenable to rehabilitation and positive change over time. The court held that the judges must have the discretion to consider the individual circumstances and the characteristics of the crime. The decision recognizes the significance of the brain development and its impact on the moral and legal culpability, paving the way for a more individualized and rehabilitative sentence for younger individuals involved in serious criminal offenses. This court is satisfied that you are unlikely to engage in offense or criminal course of conduct again, and that the public good does not require that the defendant suffer the penalty imposed by law. The court finds that the sentence must be proportionate to the seriousness of the crime surrounding the offense and the offender. The court recognizes that you have indicated that you have professional goals of becoming a marine biologist and that you plan to open a rescue for marine life after completion of high school and college, and that you would like to start a charity to help recovering alcoholics. With regard to this matter, the court is going to sentence you to 1 year in jail with 506 days credit. The guidelines are 75 to 85, correct?
51 to 85.
51 to 85 now. With regard to your sentencing, you are sentenced to 5 years of probation. I want you to understand that with regard to this opportunity, that if you are not successful with regard to probation, the prison term of 5 to 25 years is on the table. The state costs are $68. The Crime Victim Right Fund is $130. Supervision fees are $30 a month or $60 a month while on electronic monitoring system. You are to participate in the outpatient cognitive behavior program. You're not to use, purchase, or possess any alcoholic beverages or enter into any establishments that dispense them. You're to submit to alcohol and drug testing as directed by your probation officer. You're not to use any controlled substances without a prescription. You're to participate in outpatient or residential substance abuse treatment as directed by your probation officer. You are to participate in mental health treatment. You are to complete high school or an adult GED program. You're not to have any assaultive or threatening behavior, and you're not to possess or use any firearm or other deadly weapon.
If you guys think you didn't hear right, you heard that right. It's a 1 year sentence, but she's already spent 18 months in jail. So that counts as credit for that. Sorry, there's a bit of background music here. So 5 years probation. So she's gonna be let out now. Do you see that? 1 year sentence, but already a year and a half spent in jail. Just credit. Okay, continuing on.
The court is going to put you on an intensive probation program. With regard to the probation, there are to be no violations with regard to this matter. The court recognizes that you have already served 506 days in the jail, but I do not take the charge lightly, and I want to ensure that what you're doing with your time that you're using to help better things for yourself and for other people. Do you understand? Mr. Sanis?
Your Honor, I do of course have to object. I do not believe that that sentence is proportional, which is the measure here, or reasonable. It believes from your statements that you consider things like her employment or desire to have employment, lack of criminal history and minimum culpability based on some of the factors in Military, Alabama, which I understand, but in People v. Daniel, 207, Misshap 47, 1994, those three things, employment, lack of criminal responsibility, and minimum culpability, are not unusual circumstances that overcome the presumption of a proportional sentence within the guidelines.
And with regard to the proportional sentence, EQ, I do note your objection with regard to the proportional sentence. The court is satisfied that this child has not had the upbringing that she does have the capacity with regard to change and with regard to being able to reform, and that her mind is able to do good things. And I have indicated for the record that with regard to the sentencing, that I have considered whether or not she has a criminal culpability or crimes that would continue to be committed. I have reviewed the pre-sentence investigation report. I have looked at everything in this case. I sat through the trial, and I am satisfied based upon the information that I cited that she is not a threat to society, although I am going to have the intensive probation. But I'm going to allow her to get on track and get back some of the years that she has lost as with her history. So the court is satisfied with regard to the proportionality.
May I request a GPS tether in home confinement for the duration of probation?
For how long?
I would say for the duration of probation.
For 5 years?
Yes, Judge. Someone died horribly. And I also want to note, Your Honor, that there in excuse me one second. In People v. Anderson, 298 Mishap 178 in 2012, a defendant's parents were severely burned. The trial judge there deviated upwards, finding that 25 points didn't adequately take into account the prolonged pain and suffering of the victims. And they found that as a reason to depart upwards. And I think in this case we have exactly the same circumstance. So I wanted to put on the record.
And what was the burn in that case?
I was an arson judge, so I believe it was a fire burn.
So it was an intentional setting something on fire.
I like how the judge is like, oh, so that was an intentional arson. Because this was a little bit different. Just a little bit different. Okay.
Yes.
I'm satisfied with regard to the proportionality, as I stated, with regard to this matter. This is a child who I think has the ability to be, to have a good life and to be a contributing member of society. I do note your objection with regard to the tether. Mr. Miller, I'll hear you with regard to the tether.
Your Honor, with regard to a tether, I've got no problem if you want to keep track of her. I object to the home confinement. You want her to get schooling, you want her to get counseling, you want her to have a job and move forward. I believe those are all important things. Home confinement is not going to let her do anything with regard to those. I would, if you want the tether to keep track of her, that's fine. She's been incarcerated for 17 months at this point. I would request, I don't see the need for the tether. If she violates, when she violates, she's going to be in major trouble. But at this point, I don't see a need for tether, and I strongly object to the home confinement. She needs to go out and get things going. She needs to get back in society. She needs to get counseling. She needs a variety of things, and the home confinement will not help.
Home confinement doesn't restrict someone from getting medical treatment. If she is going to be out, of course, we want her in therapy. But
Yes. I do want her in therapy. I also want her completing her education. I will give a tether. We'll do a review in 6 months with regard to the tether. The home confinement, I will give you a curfew. You're not to be out past 9 o'clock. So you'll have a curfew. And I want you to be immediately enrolled in school in whatever form, either in school or online, or your GED, whatever is the most appropriate. You can work with your probation officer on that. But you are to continue your education. I want you in therapy. I want your mental health treated.
Judge, can we also ask that she participate in a psychological exam and follow any requirements that they suggest, and that she sign a confidentiality waiver, and that she take any medications that are prescribed to her by any psychologist or mental health treatment facility?
Yes. Anything else?
nothing for the people, Judge.
Can I have a review in 6 months, please?
January 23rd, 2024.
I'm sorry, what's the date?
January 23rd.
21st?
January 23rd.
Okay.
At 8:30?
Judge, and by January 23rd, are there specific requirements that you are asking that she have completed, or do you just want to know how far her progress is?
I want her in the mental health treatment. I want her in school. So she should have made significant progress in school. I don't want there to be delay in getting into the school. She needs to be in the counseling. The mental health assessment needs to be done, barring some issue with regard to the scheduling. With regard to any type of testing, I'll leave that to the probation officer with regard to drug and alcohol testing.
Everything. Thank you,
Anything
Judge.
else? Anything else from MDOC?
No, Judge, thank you.
Anything else?
I have provided her appellate rights form, Your Honor.
Okay. Ma'am, this has been your sentencing. You have a right to appeal your sentencing. You have 42 days to file an advice of rights form with this court if you do wish to appeal. If you cannot afford a lawyer, the court will appoint one for you. Okay? I expect you to do good things, Ms. Imirowicz. Okay? Carry on your father's name. Thank you, deputies. Thank you, everyone.
Take you back.
Matters concluded.
They gotta check you out properly.
Please rise.
And that's that, everyone. That's the end of the video. So, I mean, I was thinking, ooh, like, let's hope she can follow all those probation rules. I think she can. This is like, whoa, lucky in a way. Right? It's like, you're getting a second chance at life. I really hope she uses it to her advantage, meaning don't waste your resilience. I'm pretty sure that now you've gained some maturity, some resilience. Don't waste it. Take this opportunity and be an example of what rehabilitation can look like. There's a lot at stake here. You know, of course, if she does anything to violate her probation, which, I mean, damn, 9 o'clock curfews, that's probably hectic, but rather that than being in prison, right? Rather, I hope if she ever sees this, because you never know, you'll be surprised how many people are watching this. I'm always surprised who emails. I'm like, you were watching? You were watching with us, right? So, Megan, if you're ever watching this is like the movie 8 Mile. You know, you've got like that one shot, okay? That one opportunity. I won't quote the whole song. You guys are probably going to... This is everything you ever wanted. Okay, but like for real. Take it. Make it yours. Go and do great things, like the judge said. Don't mess it up. Okay? So, I know there's a lot of people in here that would be angry. Like, why? Why wouldn't she just get sentenced? Why wouldn't she get the max punishment? Why won't she this? And I get your feelings too. I understand. I just, in this case, there were a lot of concerning factors for me. And I don't know if I'm speaking out of context, but it reminded me a little bit of, you know, when we looked at the Gabby Petito case and how all those cops surrounded Gabby Petito, and then there was this like aggressor there as well, and all of that whole vibe. It's like a pack of wolves zoning on this one little girl type thing. I know she was 18, I get it, but it just felt like that all along. So man, I'm just like amazed that this judge, I feel like she intuitively almost recognized that a little bit. Okay. And meaning, look how the prosecutor, the DA, talks to the judge too. You know what I mean? There's a bit of a vibe here that I'm like, picking up a vibe here. I don't like it. And I'm just like, Megan, come on, man. Be an example. What happened was terrible. Her life sounds horrendous. Shame. Like, I'm just saying the whole thing, like, from where she was born to, you know, the adoption and everything, and then the families that she got adopted into, divorcing, and then it's just very dysfunctional. It's been very dysfunctional. But you can take that dysfunction and you can take that trauma and you can be resilient and make a difference and be a voice for other people. Okay? So, I've never thrown a lie on anyone, but I would know what it feels like to go through a tremendous amount of trauma, and I think we all know. And then take that and you decide, what are you going to do? Are you going to be like chaotic, reckless, ruin your life, ruin other people's lives? If you get a second chance, what are you going to do? You know, she got a second chance now. What are you going to do? I really hope she does. I really hope she can prove to herself, and first to herself, number one to herself and to others, that she deserves to have a good life. You know, she doesn't have to self-harm. She can forgive herself. And her dad did say, I don't think she meant it, and she doesn't normally do this. Her dad didn't say, like, she did this and this. Remember, I'm just saying. Pistol Amy says, thank you for a 3. Yes, we had that 3 stream day. So you're a rock star, happy to support you in all your hard work. Thank you so much, Pistol Amy. I really just didn't want to delay this until tomorrow. I just couldn't. I watched this, as I said in my earlier stream. I went on a walk with Mr. Grizzly between the press conference and the other Long Island serial killer stream, right? But I was watching this on that walk. I just said, sorry, but I'm going to bring this along. Is that okay? And he said, that's fine. So I was listening to it. I'm like, oh my word. Like, I need to see what's going to happen here because I had no idea. Kathleen R says the present tense report. Presentence? Report? Pre-sentence. Sorry. Normally I'm looking for a dash in there. True. Sorry about that. The pre-sentence report made a huge difference to the judge. Yep, it did. And, whoa, that was, yeah. And someone says, T. Christiansen, I remember being 18, immature. So could she have been punished for this? Absolutely. Could she have got 7 years, 25 years? Sure. Life, yep. But now she got a second chance. So what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? So I hope that you guys enjoyed the stream with me. I certainly enjoyed watching it with you. It's always better watching it with you than alone. So, Crown Dice says, workaholic G, crazy. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, mods. I know you didn't even know about this one coming up. I'm like, and there'll be another one. So, that's 3 for today. I'm not sure if you'll see me tomorrow. I'll be working on a lot of things, and I'm talking to criminal profiler John Kelly tomorrow. We're going to be discussing the Long Island serial killer case versus the Atlantic City what's it called? The Eastbound Strangler? That one. The other possible serial killer. We'll be talking about those 2 different MOs and things like that and comparing them. I'll be recording everything. I'll be putting it together for you to bring to you in a episode soon, maybe a premiere, maybe a live stream. We shall see. I'm very excited, very honored as well, because John Kelly and his team have done a comprehensive profile on the Long Island serial killer and the Eastbound Strangler. Yes. Bam Flyer, welcome. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you whenever the next one is. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, okay? And I'm going to remind you one more time. I might have to remind you every now and then because people freak out when I'm not here because I'm here so much. If you don't see me live or making a video or something, please check my community tab. Check Twitter, but definitely check Patreon. You're always going to know what's happening on Patreon. I generally share photos on there and little outings and documents and videos and coffee time and forest walks and all sorts of things, okay? So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff on Patreon if you do want to know more about the behind-the-scenes of my life, a little bit, and true crime and what I'm planning and all that, okay? How do I say your name? I don't want to botch it. Gesel? I would say like Gesel, Lopez, Giselle maybe even. Depends where you're from. You said, just like Centoya Brown made a difference. I'm going to have to look at that. But I'm hoping she will make a difference. Okay, so thank you so much, everyone. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one, okay? Bye, everyone.